everybody doing?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
All right.
It feels good, I'm sure.
Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, I know you've been embracing with the team, what these games have meant as they've played out. Going into this tournament, how are you leaning into what a run could mean?
Yeah, we've talked openly about what's at stake, and we talked about that going into last game. I think our guys, the leadership of this team, have helped everyone keep the main thing though, and that is focused on the next game. So none of that stuff matters without us, being prepared and giving our absolute best on Thursday. And our leadership deserves a ton of credit about that. But I think now in today's landscape, you got to be honest and open and have real dialogue about what is at stake, and then get back to work.
We've talked about the depth and how it's been used more, how you've got more from guys kind of down the bench. How important is that going to be, and what are you looking for in preparation from those players here entering the tournament?
Yeah, I've said this now, the depth of this team is a real strength, and whether that is brief segments or guys stepping up maybe in a bigger way than they had anticipated going into a particular game. I think our team has embraced that depth as a strength for us, but you're also seeing guys are playing so hard that they're asking for breaks at times, and that's, I think that's a great place to be at as a team. So, I think back specifically, like Tayson's bank three was a big shot. It was, and he stayed ready. And there's examples like that, every game from multiple guys, and that togetherness we have right now has set us up and positioned guys for when it is time for them to go in to have success.
Go ahead, Pat.
Last year, obviously, with the run you guys made in this tournament, what can guys take from that? What maybe do you take from that as you kind of go here? And given that you kind of have been already in tournament mode a little bit, do you think that helps just instead of gearing up for something different?
Yeah, I think we have a core group of guys who know what to expect with the Big Ten tournament, who have confidence in what they're able to accomplish. And so all that's valuable, certainly. It's each season, each team's different, but our guys know that what it feels like and what we're capable of, certainly, and hopefully we can build even more on that. But I told our guys last night I was really proud. A few weeks ago, I don't think anybody anticipated us positioning ourselves with a bye.
Yeah.
And they deserve the credit for that. And I thought that was really, really something that they needed to hear and be proud of. But it's March Madness. Anything can happen. This is the beauty of this tournament, and we've had, as a program, we've had a couple nice runs here in the last few years. The run, I think, back to the run Dwayne Washington went on, and that team. And so we're excited, and our guys are confident right now. I think that confidence is the most important piece.
You talked about the depth. Some of these freshmen haven't gone through this where you're playing every day potentially and whatnot. How do you communicate? How do the leaders on this team communicate to them what's going to be different when you get into tournament play?
Yeah, the great thing is I think that communication is going to be natural because of how close our team is, and the leaders of our team have really raised their voice throughout these last few weeks, and I think that's been an important ingredient to why we've been able to experience some success on the court. But we also our young guys, they're not scared. They're a confident group, and we love that about them. But I think our guys are so focused on the task at hand right now that I don't anticipate the moment being too big for anybody from 1 through 15.
Jake just played Iowa a month and a half ago or so. How do they? You haven't had a whole lot of time, I suppose, between when the matchup was announced and now to really dive in. But initial thoughts on what they look like and how they might be different than they were the last time you guys saw them?
Yeah, I think they're experiencing some momentum too. Obviously, they didn't win the last one, but they've been playing well. Sanford's he's been really, really good. I think they have depth on the perimeter and on the interior, which, gives them some versatility. So they're a really good team with a really good coach, and we played them tough at their place, but I think we're in a different place. They're probably in a little bit of a different place. So we'll lean on last game to pick some things up and evaluate that. We've already begun doing that, and we'll evaluate that further. But I think both these teams right now have a little bit of momentum, so it should make for a fun one on Thursday.
And both these teams too, kind of trying to play their way into the NCAA tournament. So you got two kind of desperate teams. The way that last one ended, with you guys obviously not getting the shot in the final seconds, do you draw on a moment like that? Do you harp on a moment like that and say, like, all right, we didn't get that shot, now we have a shot at them? Like, do you look at a moment like that as a way to get a little more going into this game from your guys?
Well, I think maybe not so much that specific moment of what happened, but the idea that we had the ball in our hands with a chance to win it in their gym is something we'll absolutely reflect on. But again, they've got some momentum, so they're not the exact same team, but we also do too. And we've tweaked some things to be a little different. So it won't be the same game, but we'll certainly take elements of that game. And I believe there's a confidence factor knowing that, hey, we were in their gym with a chance to win the game. So we gotta. We've talked openly about this. They beat us in game one. This is part of an element of this game. This is a payback game. There's certainly other big things at stake and all of that, right? We haven't shied away from talking about the different storylines of these games.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about just turnovers last couple games. Michigan was 16, yesterday was 15. So wondering just like, what are you seeing with that? And is that really a product of maybe being too aggressive, or just like what are you seeing with that?
Yeah, I think the increased pace and aggressiveness certainly may have played a factor. I think last game in particular, that's what Rutgers does, and you got to give them credit for that. I actually didn't feel like, going back and watching, I didn't feel like we had as many kind of empty or careless possessions or turnovers as we did against the team up north. But with the Rutgers game, I mean, that's what they do, and you can practice for that and prepare for that and watch a bunch of tape, which we did. But until you go out there and you feel it, and you're, in most games where you're driving and you're not anticipating someone just leaving their man and attacking your dribble, like some of that is you got to feel. So I still thought, and we kept talking about it in timeouts, we talked about it at halftime, like this is a controllable thing for us, because there were some things that were self-inflicted from a turnover standpoint. But I thought specifically when we started to get ahead in the second half and they increased their pressure and they started trapping and things like that, for us to, I believe it was 9 turnovers in the first half, maybe 6 in the second half, and considering how they were playing, I thought we made a great adjustment, and that was important.
Yeah, is that something that you maybe like talk to Bruce about, or does he just kind of talk about the team with that? Like, how do those conversations go, like about the turnovers maybe during the game and after too?
Yeah, we talked about it in timeouts, and I just explained to guys in the first half, we're not getting enough shots. Like we got to get a shot up, and part of this is on us. Now, certainly I'm not trying to minimize their impact, but I felt like we could control this. And then we went to halftime and we talked about that. So we talked about when you drive it, like you got to anticipate more than most games, someone stepping up earlier, someone attacking. So you may have to pull up a dribble earlier and get the ball to the other side of the floor, and that's the closeout we want to attack, or that second paint touch will give us more success. So we talked about that at halftime, and again, I thought our guys adjusted really well, specifically as we pulled ahead and they started pressing more, trapping more. We had some really, I thought, a couple key plays against their pressure full court where we got easy buckets that were critical.
Jake, turnovers jump out, but are there any other areas you feel like you guys need to be better going into the Big Ten tournament?
Well, I think we have to continue to fight to be good on the glass, both sides of the ball. Those two areas are going to be important. I like the aggressiveness we've played with on both sides. We've been more aggressive defensively. We've been able to get some turnovers ourselves, which has helped. I think guys are, flying around. I can't remember how many blocks we had, maybe 7 or 8 blocks. Thought we played with a great aggressiveness on the defensive side, which is important. But I would say us taking care of the ball, creating some turnovers, and then rebounding. Can we get some second chance opportunities too? And we got to obviously finish plays, prevent the other team from getting some.
And then just the last 6 games, take a step back, just for the buy-in defensively you guys have gotten. What's it been like to see that stepping up into this role, you working with the staff, to kind of see this jump that's really happened for you guys?
Yeah, I would say we've talked a lot about, I know, Holt talked a lot about just the improvement we needed to make defensively, and some of that takes time throughout the course of a season, certainly. So I felt we were starting to trend in a positive direction, but we've raised the aggressiveness, and I think our guys have embraced that. And our staff, it's not like our staff all of a sudden started working harder. They were working as hard as, we've been working as hard as we possibly can all season, and looking for, maybe a little adjustments things. So our staff deserves a ton of credit. They're not just for the improvement defensively, but for the last few weeks and how things have gone. And again, I know they're not necessarily up here maybe, but they deserve a ton of credit. Our leadership, they've embraced the accountability that we've kind of increased, and the urgency and aggressiveness that guys are playing with, I think has been a factor that's helped us.
You said momentum like 4 or 5 times. Why is that so important this time of year in your eyes?
Do I got to start watching what I say, or I think it's important because it gives you a chance to play your best, and ultimately that's what you want to do this time of year. When the stakes are so high, you want to position yourself to play your absolute best. Confidence, momentum, all those things are a factor. So yes, we're trying to hold on to it as best we can. Now reflecting back on last week, I know I talked about just holding on to that with a week break. It felt like we were able to manage that week well. Certainly we can reflect back on it and maybe see that now. But yeah, we want to keep moving in the same way. I told our guys too, we haven't played our best yet, and we're still striving to put longer stretches together of being a little bit tougher, being a little more together, playing with more urgency and aggressiveness. We're striving to do that more and more, because we haven't reached that point where you can say, man, that was like close to the best we could possibly play. We still got another level that we can work to get towards, but momentum's going to help us get there. There's no question.
I think they went 6.5 minutes to start the game without a field goal, and then I think 10 minutes in the second half they didn't make a field goal. I could be wrong. Just what is it in those stretches? You talked a little bit about your defense there a second ago, but I don't know if it becomes contagious and just one stop after another. And you did foul them and send them to the line a couple times, but they didn't make a field goal. I mean, that's just got to be demoralizing for the other team.
Yeah, there's momentum within a game, I think you could certainly say, and wish we probably could have capitalized even a little bit more offensively during that stretch, specifically in the first half. But listen, they're an elite defensive team, and so we felt like this game in particular, because of their strengths, this was going to be a game of runs, and we had to capitalize when we could, but we also felt like we would be able to stop them at times. And so the biggest fear I think maybe I had was we could, if we went on some offensive walls, which they've done to everybody pretty much, how would that impact the defensive side? And I think it speaks to the maturity and just the mindset of where our guys are collectively, that even when we did struggle at times offensively, we still, like our defense in that particular game for the first half, it anchored us. And then we were able to figure some things out, and our offense helped carry us in the second half. And this team's capable of being really good on both sides. I believe that. That's going to be important for us, obviously, moving forward.
This might be more important for recruiting and designating guys that can go out on the road and these kind of things, but being a coach down, do you have somebody who is now, was support staff, who is now on court coaching, kind of filling the role that you had as assistant coach, or is it a collection of people, or who are you guys, who have you, in lack of a better term, bumped up to full, I wouldn't say formally bumped up to
Yeah.
full time, but do you have people who are now filling more different roles, I guess, coaching?
Yeah, we've tried to keep things as kind of similar from a staff structure as we could. We've bumped up, for I guess lack of a better term, Terrence Dials,
Okay.
who's now able to be in practice more engaging and coach and things like that. And I just, for me, that was an easy decision to make because I've spoken openly about how important this basketball family is, former players, the value of them being around, and we have a former player who is a well-decorated former player on our staff, and we needed to, like, that was an easy decision to make. As far as kind of the flow of the game, I mean, I've been doing substitutions, and I'm still doing majority of some of the play calls, but the structure of how many play calls we're doing and stuff, like, we don't need to get into the weeds on that, but we've adjusted some of that, trying to again play with a little bit more pace. But Mike Nettie has helped me kind of shift offensively. So if I'm, I guess I can give you kind of some details to what this would look like specifically. If I'm down talking to a guy on the bench, or an official, he steps up and makes a call, if we need to. So I think we've worked together on that. And then Brandon Bailey and Jack Owens, they're still focusing on the defensive side. And I think for me personally now, my focus is spread everywhere. And we have great chemistry. I've said that before. I think in circumstances like this, that chemistry that's make or break. And we've had great chemistry on our staff, I think, from top to bottom. And you're seeing that, I think, come to light even more when you're down, your leader, and guys are kind of having to adjust a little bit in the rules.
It looks like Gene Smith, the athletic department, have gotten behind you 100%. You've got all the support you need. Going into the tournament, first time you as the head coach are going to lead a team into a conference tournament. Just what is that planning and all of that preparation of the support that you need to go and attack this week going to Minnesota? Just what does this look like, I guess, as the first time leading a coach into this with all the logistics and everything that goes into it?
Yeah, well, I think from the day everything happened, there's been unbelievable support, and people have kind of circled around this program to help keep it moving forward, and Gene's certainly been a leader in that. As far as the logistics go, we have such a great asset in David Egelhoff, who's
Been there, done it.
what seems like every scenario possible he's experienced, and he's been great, and he's been really valuable. And we've tried to, when there's decisions to be made, we've tried to create great dialogue amongst the staff to get different opinions. The different part for me now is I have to make those decisions and the final decision, but it's not happening without input. And Gene, our administration, has been available if I need to, ask a question or get some advice or get their thoughts. Absolutely. And so, but I think there's some pieces that have been in place here for a long time that have really helped with that. And we've been trying to just do some things that we feel fit us right now, and we've had the freedom to do that.
I'll go last to Adam and then David.
I know you're dealing with a lot right now, trying to just get ready for the Big Ten tournament, but do you think that this team, with the way that they've gone down the stretch here, deserves to be in the conversation for the NCAA tournament?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm no expert on all the metrics that go into making that decision, but I would think a couple of our top wins would stack up against anybody in the country. And we've now stacked together some road wins, and also the momentum that we have and the way we've been playing lately. I think there's a lot of positives that would help our case, but I would absolutely, we deserve to be in the conversation, and that includes the total body of work.
How much do you think just the hard reset of the program the last 6 games should have? If you were in that committee room, how much would you put an emphasis on, look what they've done down the stretch here?
If it were up to me, it would mean everything. It would make it mean everything right now. Yeah, I would hope that that's certainly taken into consideration, and I understand it's a full season, but yeah, if you could give me a seat, I'd stand on the table and make sure they knew that was the most important thing.
I just remember after the Purdue game, you talked about how nervous you were before that game. Do you still get a little bit nervous? Do you get a little more nervous now it's a Big Ten? How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I get nervous before every game. Yeah, I would imagine that will always be the case. I think I've gotten maybe a little bit more nervous. I got nervous as an assistant coach. I think I've gotten maybe a little more nervous sitting in this seat. But I also, I think that stems from just how much I care, how competitive I am, how much I love this game. And I don't take for granted a single opportunity to go out and do what I get to do. I felt the same way as an assistant coach. So the level of passion and care, I think there will always be an element of nervousness, but usually goes away as soon as that ball is tossed up.
Jake, thanks.
Thank you, Jake.
Are you back in for 5 days?